One. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Yellow Card Podcast presented to you by Couch Guy Sports. Your host, as always, Diego Galvis, accompanied by the two greatest co-hosts in the history of podcasting, Chris Jones and Andrew Fasciano. Fellas, how we doing?
Good. Two thumbs up.
Not as good as you, dude.
That is Andrew, a good point.
You see anything new on that hand?
I saw that hand positioning to start the episode.
We want to see the other one. We want to see the other one. Show me the other hand.
Listen,
Show
guys.
me the other hand.
Guys, I'm starting my Shaquille O'Neal career, and I just collected my first championship ring.
Yeah. Let's go.
Round of applause.
One of a kind. One of a kind.
All right. So, guys, very exciting stuff happening for episode 39. First and foremost, I am proud to announce that the Yellow Card Podcast is brought to you by its first ever sponsor, Exo Gun. You guys ever do a workout and feel like you need a massage after? Hard workout, very intense.
Every single time I work out, yes.
Every single time. Well, if you get the Exo Gun, it is the massage without leaving the house. Don't let the pain and soreness slow you down. Exo Gun revives muscles, boosts the circulations, and releases energy so you can recover fast and lift better. Take it wherever you need it to, work, the gym, the trail, and put the power of percussion massage treatment in your hands. It's portable, adjustable, and powerful. Exo Gun is trusted by the pros to deliver the ultimate in recovery. Even use it for percussion therapy. You may be asking yourself, what is percussion therapy? Percussion therapy boosts muscles function and recovery by penetrating deep into the muscle tissue with a series of rapid, concentrated, pulsating strokes. Gain back control of your body and achieve long-term pain relief with Exo Gun. Get 10% off with the code CGS10 at checkout. Comes with a charger and a carrying case. Go get your Exo Gun today and treat yourself to a massage at a moment's notice. Once again, that promo code is CGS10 for 10%. Fellas, very exciting stuff for the Yellow Card Podcast. I mean, we're episode 39. Already got a major sponsor in Exo Gun. Huge shout out to those guys. Growing like crazy too. I mean, Twitter, what do we got? Like 566 followers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
around
on the dot, I think.
Yeah, I think 566. Engaging with everybody and anybody. If anybody is out there listening and wants to come on the podcast, please do shoot us a DM on the @podcastcard Twitter handle. Shoot us a DM. We'll love to have a conversation with you. Share whatever knowledge you have, because I'm sure at some point we're missing something that none of us even thought of. But without further ado, first of all, I'd like to give about 30 seconds to a minute of just respects to Christian Eriksen with the Euro 2020 incident that happened. So without further ado, just gotta give him a little quick moment of silence and respect towards his family and himself and the Danish team. All right, thank you.
Huge respect on the back.
Huge respect to Christian Eriksen, praying for his family, praying for his very strong recovery, I hope, and to see him back on the pitch doing what he knows how to do best. So Christian Eriksen, stay strong, buddy. Now let's move on to Euro 2020, a big tournament that just started literally about this past weekend, along with Copa America, which we'll get into it later. Fellas, either one of you, take it away. Hit us with the biggest takes of this Euro 2020. I say sipping the tequila seltzers that Mr. Jones got us. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm as well. Thank you. I think the big take so far, obviously I'm still waiting for France and Germany to play tomorrow, which will be a legendary game to start off the tournament. I think my biggest takeaway from the matches so far is big surprise, Ukraine. I did not expect them to keep it close with the Netherlands.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I'll say it. I did not expect the Czech Republic to beat Scotland today. That's another
That
one.
was a sick goal. That was
absurd goal.
I see what you did there.
That was sick. Very sick.
Two disappointments. Poland.
Huge.
Today, I think Poland was a big disappointment against Slovakia. And then Spain over Sweden, obviously. That was the big disappointment so far. Wow. Robin Olsen played tremendously.
God. Dude, he was
tremendously
unbelievable. Just unbelievable. You know what? I'm not even gonna say anything. Everton fans, take me through your emotions right now, seeing Robin Olsen being this freaking good and knowing that he's not coming back to Everton.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not like insanely disappointed that that's the case. I'm happy for him. I think I really enjoyed his time at Everton. I think he came in and did exactly the job that he needed to do in terms of, first and foremost, being a great option in goal, but then also pushing and motivating Jordan Pickford as well and giving him a little competition to help Pickford improve his own game. So I think he was, for Everton, the perfect move at the perfect time. Couldn't have asked for anything more from him. And I'm glad that he has now gotten a chance to shine on such a global stage, because I think he was maybe a little underrated before this, given just how solid he was. He wasn't really a name that I was familiar with before Everton brought him in. So I'm happy for him that he's had a chance to play at this level in such a big tournament.
That's huge. Yeah.
Speaking of Jordan Pickford, I wanted to touch upon England versus Croatia.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest takeaway from that is if England is going to play like that the entire tournament, this team is not making it out of the round of 16. No. Not a chance. Everybody was happy and excited because it's the first time that England's won an opening match Euro game. So personally, I wasn't impressed. I would like to see, obviously Raheem Sterling has the game-winning goal, but I want to see Jack Grealish. Grealish from him.
Here's another thing that I'm not very impressed with either out of that game. You English, it literally fucks. You guys have got to start respecting that the fact that people taking a knee at the game, it's in union of what the game truly represents, which is everybody's welcome to play the game. There is no criteria needed to be met. You can be white, black, Latino, Asian, you can be anything. We're all united for one game and one game only. The minute you start booing that representation of that is the minute that you're disrespecting the game. Do not attend to these games if you're gonna be doing that. Plain and simple. End of rant. Sorry.
Everybody that was at the game on Sunday there were cheers. So there were no boos on Sunday. They were all cheers. Before, yes, 100% agree with you, but there were cheers.
There were England fans booing during the Croatian national anthem and during the which was, I was just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, where is the respect towards that of the game? There's just, where is that? Because it is so disgusting just to see that.
Fans were just excited to be back in the arena, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the excitement. I'm fine with being all emotionally driven and whatnot. But the minute that you do two things, the minute that you disrespect the other country's national anthem and start booing it, and the minute that you're booing the act of unification while everyone is taking a knee, is the minute that you have zero respect towards the game and zero respect towards what is being played and what is at the line right now. That's just me. But
yeah, no, I agree. I guess I'd say 3 takeaways through the games that have been played so far that I was hoping to touch on. The first one is, I think the game that I've enjoyed watching the most so far was Wales-Switzerland, the 1-1 draw.
I missed that one.
Yeah,
I actually missed that one.
I missed the Netherlands-Ukraine game, so perhaps if I had seen that one, my answer would be different, but I enjoyed that one a lot. I was rooting for Wales, so when they got the late equalizer, that was a cool moment, I thought. Then you touched on it to start the podcast, Diego, with the Christian Eriksen situation. I would say I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed with the way UEFA handled the playing of the rest of the game. Peter Schmeichel, father of Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper for the Danish team, went on some sort of breakfast talk show today in the UK and sort of explained what options the team had. And I could be misremembering this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was they either finished the game on the same day, which is what they did, played the next day at 12 noon, or took a 3-0 forfeit loss, which I understand that it was a medical situation that happened specifically to Christian Eriksen, but seeing that happen to someone that you care about is like a very traumatic experience and is not something that I personally don't think those players should have been expected to come right back out and play. That's something that can leave a mark on you for a long time, not just a couple of hours where you can just shake it off and come back and perform. And Finland might have won that game anyways, but I don't really feel that was fair to have those Danish players go through something so traumatic and stressful and then come back out. And
fully agree with that.
And then third point, today, Czech Republic and Scotland. Scotland was one of the teams that I was most looking forward to cheering on before the tournament. The atmosphere at Hampden Park in Glasgow did not disappoint one bit. I thought it was incredible to see them back in the major tournament for the first time in 23 years, I think. Czech Republic played very well, specifically Schick with the 2 goals to get them the win. But I'm still excited to watch Scotland's 2 remaining games because the game against England in England will be a great atmosphere. And then I think the other game in Scotland again will be another really cool experience. So if you're a fan of sort of watching the fans and the atmosphere, I would highly recommend those 2 games going forward.
Yeah. And for me, here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1, best game thus far of the opening schedule. Chris mentioned it earlier, Netherlands versus Ukraine. By far the best game I've seen of the opening schedule. Not even England and Croatia, not even Belgium and Russia. You knew Belgium was going to be a powerhouse anyways. Second key takeaway, Italy's here to stay. That performance that they gave against Turkey, chef's kiss. Ciro Immobile, Gianluigi Donnarumma looked phenomenal in net. If Italy really needed a reassuring person in their team, that was Gianluigi Donnarumma. Nobody else. And Lorenzo Insigne and, like I said, Ciro Immobile just looked phenomenal up front. I mean, if there is anything negative left to say about Italy, it's probably their passing skills. The passing was a little bit off, but other than that, nothing else. I mean, you look at this whole entire game in itself, and possession, Italy just overruled 64 to 36%. Pass accuracy, while Italy needed some retooling to do because their passes at times were long and really had no target whatsoever, they still managed an 87%, which is remarkable considering a team that really hasn't had that much time to develop a chemistry together to truly take this team to the next levels that they can be. And third of all, I mean, Giorgino Chiellini, holy crap. Another strong backbone for that Italian team. I was looking at that whole entire team and I'm saying, okay, never seen Insigne, Immobile, and Berardi play together. Never. Let's see how this goes. Never seen Spinazzola, Chiellini, and Florenzi playing together. I've seen Chiellini and Bonucci play together, but never seen those 4 together. Never seen Jorginho be in charge of the midfield, and he did it spectacularly for that midfield. He was a stronghold, but he was very good at creating the offensive attack for Italy. So overall, if anything, I think the biggest sleeper right now in this whole entire Euro 2020 is Italy. So definitely watch out for them. And I think the biggest, I have to agree with this on Chris. Actually, my 2 biggest disappointments right now are Spain and England. Spain, you need to do something with Alvaro Morata. Either find a way to make him regain his own confidence, because he sure lacked of it today in all aspects of the word. Or you really need to just start Gerard Moreno and Thiago together, because those 2 came into this game And if they had come in 10 minutes earlier into this game, Spain would have won that game 1-0 easily. I think the Thiago and Gerard Moreno combination was super powerful, very creative, had chances, and Paulo Sarabia was very close of scoring in the 2 chances that he had, while Alvaro Morata had about 5 to 7 chances, and not one of them was even close to the net. I think the other surprise for Spain was seeing David De Gea really not starting. It's really not surprising considering the fall on his form that he has taken as of late, especially after the Europa League final against Villarreal, where he just collapsed altogether. I think the moment was maybe just bigger than he imagined it to be. And I think lastly, just seeing how good Robin Olsen had been, but Spain being more of a powerhouse offensively to not create chances, that was just devastating all in all for Spain. I know that if I was Sergio Ramos, I'd be throwing my remote straight to my TV screen and screaming all sorts of swears in Spanish that you guys don't need to hear. In terms of England, I agree with Jonesy. Like, why didn't you start Jack Grealish? It just makes zero sense for me. The dude was your man of the match in the previous game played, and the dude was the most creative piece of all your midfield game in all aspects of the word. Secondary to that, I didn't see Marcus Rashford involved either. Phil Foden, Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling up front for the 3. Yeah, they were phenomenal. I wasn't too over thrilled about Mason Mount. He just didn't look himself. Maybe the moment being too big for him, seeing that I think this is his first time, if I'm not mistaken, playing for the English national team. Maybe he's second.
The majority of the England squad, I think it's like 15 out of the 24 players, are playing in like their first big time competition.
Okay. I also didn't like that Luke Shaw didn't start. Kieran Trippier on the left side just wasn't as reassuring as Luke Shaw could be. I get it. Kieran Trippier is a playmaker and creates chances. I get that. But against Croatia, you needed a defensive core, and you didn't have that because you didn't have Luke Shaw. Then moving down the line, I mean, the highlighting player for the English team the whole entire game was Phillips. I mean, the guy was a creative power force, if anything. I mean, kudos to Calvin Phillips. Phenomenal game. Way too impressing. I think this is his first game too, playing for the English national team. So congratulations on a job well done. I mean, if there's anybody that really reassured themselves as a starting lineup person, that's him. Kyle Walker, John Stones, and Ming just really didn't look all that great together. I think Kyle Walker and John Stones were good because they've had that chemistry before, but Tyrone Ming just didn't look like he belonged there at all. He was lost at all times in center, in my opinion. I mean,
I disagree with you, man. I think Tyrone Mings played a fantastic game.
He did have some very good chances where he saved those.
For the situation where he got thrown in, I thought he played a phenomenal game. I thought the 2 key pieces of that team from the start 11 that played well was Tyrone Ming and Phillips. Phillips was playing more in an attacking midfielder role, which we haven't seen because he's been very much so what Declan Rice was, and that's the center defensive mid. But Phillips has been the center defensive mid for Leeds United all year, so we haven't been able to see that creativity. Seeing that, it makes me think their formation was a little bit weird. It was a 4-3-3, but it was kind of like basically like a 4-1. It was like a baseline.
It was like a baseline 4-3-3.
It was like it wasn't like a 4-3-3. It was more like a 4-1-2-1 or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
But for me, I thought Trippier was a good piece for them. Luke Shaw could have done it. Don't get me wrong, but again, for Gareth Southgate, the lineup worked. You win 1-0. The guy Raheem Sterling, who you were kind of on the fence about, starting and over Jack Grealish, scored the only goal in the game. So tip of the cap to you. Sterling didn't play that bad. I won't lie. Sterling didn't play that bad. I was expecting a little bit more from Phil Foden. Obviously, the second he hit the inside of the post, I was like, it's not his night. 8 minutes in the game, second he hit the inside of the post, I knew it wasn't his night.
Yep.
But Phillips was the surprise one for me. So Declan Rice playing the back center defensive mid role for them, I think is big time. And if he can play like this the entire tournament, they have a realistic shot. The only thing I'm worried about is if Pickford starts seeing more shots on net, how shaky is he going to be?
Well,
that's why when he takes on some of these top tier competitions, once they hit the round of 16, I'm a little worried.
Well, so I get why Southgate did that. Realistically, the better goalie right now, speakingly wise, is Dean Henderson. There is no question on that. But
I disagree.
I think for the aspect and the experience of playing in a national team, Jordan Pickford is the answer, no questions asked. Pickford has really delivered for the national team at all times when he's asked and called upon to do this task. I agree with Jones, though. The more shots that he takes on net is the shakiest that he gets, while Henderson is good in that pressure because he's shown that for Manchester United. And to be honest with you, I almost would say Manchester United's defense needs some serious retooling. Either get rid of Harry Maguire or get rid of Victor Lindelof, but one of the two are just not working together for Manchester United. The two sides, I mean, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, Jesus Christ, it doesn't get any better than that on the outside. But the center backs, they're just not working at all. Not working at all for United altogether.
Andrew, in the aspect where I think I know where you're going, I would take Pickford because I do feel Pickford with having a better defensive support system up front, like he does with the English national team, gives him a little bit of a better look. As of when sometimes with Everton, it's a hit or a miss depending on what four show up in this sense for their back four. But just based off of what I've seen and especially when Croatia beat them in the World Cup 2 years ago, they put a lot of pressure on them. They put a lot of shots on net and they scored. And they scored two big goals. And that's why that they went into the final instead of England that year. But the one thing that Croatia is missing big time, and if they had him, I would have bet the money on Croatia winning it, is Mario Mandzukic. Not having him as their striker was a big time flaw. Rebic was great, not Mandzukic's level though, and they couldn't. Every time they crossed, Perisic crossed at least a couple times in the game, and there was nobody there where Mandzukic would be. So that is where Croatia has to retool and stuff like that. But for the England side, again, you have so much talent. You have probably one of the talented teams in the European competition here. You have to find a lineup that works together. If Harry Kane's going to be disinterested, he should not be starting for you.
I agree with that. I agree with that too.
Yeah, here's what I would add on England. First, I think on paper, Croatia is their toughest match in the group, right? You guys would agree with that? So
100%.
I think you take the 3 points and kind of move on. At the beginning of most major tournaments, I feel like there's sort of a grace period where you're kind of trying to figure out who fits where in your team, gelling and coming together. So I think we will see England's performance improve going forward. So I would say it's a pretty big positive that they were able to navigate those question marks and still beat probably what is the second best team in their group. And then second, to be honest, I think you guys are underrating a little bit how good Jordan Pickford was in the second half of the season for Everton. Because if we were talking about first half of the season, Jordan Pickford, I would absolutely agree with you guys. But I think since Olsen came in and he started working with a sports psychologist, which was a big change for him, I think he was really, really solid. I would say he was one of Everton's best players in the back stretch of the season. He had a whole new confidence about him that was just clearly lacking in the first half. I think he was more vocal. He looked more in control and calm at times, and it translated into really solid play. I think he was light years ahead of where he was in the first half of the season. So I would say I would understand having questions about him given some of the shakiness in the first half of the season, but my prediction is that even if teams start getting more opportunities and increasing the pressure, he's going to stand up to that and deal with it, because that's the Pickford that I saw in the second half of the season.
Well, to go back on the beginning of the season shakiness, you know, the only thing I could kind of put together to it was him injuring Van Dijk. I think that put a big toll on his mental game, like you said, and obviously seeing the psychiatrist definitely helped.
Yep.
But at the beginning, you know, there were times where he was timid to come out because of what happened.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's another big possible thing. Like, that's still going on in his head. Is something that we have to look out for as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I would almost say that for England, this isn't really an easy pie kind of group either.
No.
Czech Republic today just showed that they're here to compete, and they are here.
But that's Scotland, dude. I don't put Scotland and England on the same level.
Before you even go
competition.
Before you even go there, Czech Republic's midfield game and the wingers on the outside, I'm sorry to tell you, but they were impressive as all hell. And that defense for Czech Republic truly has a chemistry, because at all times, whether the center backs were missing and the two wingers needed to fill in that role, they were there. I get it. It is Scotland. It is not even a close comparison. But in terms of the quickness of how both teams can turn the game around, Scotland and England have that creativity pieces. Not even, I will agree, it's not even close, but it's somewhat relatable to how they can change the pace of the game. And Czech Republic was able to stand up for that at all times. I'd be interested to see how England performs against this, considering that when your best players against the Croatia game was, like, as you mentioned, Calvin Phillips, Tyrone Ming, and maybe even Declan Rice as your midfield stronghold, you kind of have some questions to answer there. So do I think that England's starting lineup definitely needs to change for the next game? 100%. I think that if I was Gareth Southgate, I will stick to my back four, maybe change up Kieran Trippier with Luke Shaw, because you need that solid back winger in the back four, especially against a Czech Republic team that showed to be sneaky good today. That is physical. That is something that Luke Shaw can actually play. He is very physically driven. Mm-hmm. I will definitely stick with Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice in the midfield. I wouldn't change anything about that. I think that if anything, I would probably add either a Marcus Rashford or a Jack Grealish to accompany Luke Shaw, because Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford can create that variance in that wing to open up chances for somebody like Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane. Do I think Harry Kane deserves the starting nod for next game? Not really, because he seemed just so disinterested in playing for English team this past week that I'm just like, why do you even bother to show up? Just give Dominic Calvert-Lewin the start, because the guy actually was really good too. I actually thought Dominic was good for the minutes that he came in. Hell, even Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham looked real good too, and congratulations to him for being one of the youngest guys starting in a
for being the youngest.
Right? Yeah, that's what I thought too. But I wanted to
17.
I wanted to double check that. Congratulations to him. He just showed that he has that talent. And I think Phil Foden, I agree with you. It wasn't his day, but realistically, the guy might be the start for the whole entire English team as soon as he gets more acquainted with the competition, because he did have that one shot on goal that just hit the post. If that thing was just a little bit curved, a little bit more, that thing was going in. That was a beauty of a goal if it was going in my opinion.
I think so. Unfortunately, I do think we see kind of a bit of the same against Scotland for England. I do think
very well could be.
I do think we see Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, and Phil Foden in the lineup. But I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Foden kind of transitions really quick into the Mason Mount role as the center attacking mid. And then you get Jack Grealish on the other side.
I would like that.
Mm-hmm. And then Mason Mount can be your super sub, basically.
Yeah.
But I think they're gonna ride Trippier. I like Trippier in that lineup. And Tyrone Ming filling in for Harry Maguire has done a great job, and I hope that he continues to do more of the same.
I will say I underestimated his physicality, but he showed to be very good and very physical when needed. I will say that. I just thought that maybe his chemistry with John Stones was just not as sharp as we expected out of England. But, I mean, you kind of expect that as the team is growing all together, considering the statistics that you gave us earlier. About 15 of the 24 players are playing for the first time for the English national team. So you kind of expect that. I think that obviously the next game to watch is obviously France versus Germany.
So that was my next take. Besides France and Germany, for match day 2, what is your game to watch?
For me, I'll be honest, there is 2 games that are very interesting for me to watch. I think Belgium versus Denmark, because I want to see how Denmark rekindles their energy past this Christian Eriksen incident. And I think that they would actually show a very strong competition against Belgium. And I think that the next one to watch too is Portugal versus Germany. Those are my 2 games to watch, personally.
Depending on how the 2 games shape up tomorrow to end the first match day, I can kind of agree. My 2, Italy and Switzerland, I think.
That's another great game.
Yeah. Switzerland needs at least another point here because you got to think Wales can probably beat Turkey. You're Switzerland. You need at least another point. And to lose to Italy would be a big blow for them. Yeah. So I think that's a key. In Italy, if Italy wins, they win the group easily. So I think that's a big game. And then Spain and Poland. Yeah. Both teams lost. Both teams are going to be fighting. They're going to be hungry. They're going to want to do what they need to do to move on. So that's another game that I'm looking out for.
Yeah. I think Netherlands and Austria is a big game for deciding who wins Group C for sure. I also think it's a big game for the Netherlands. They were good offensively, but I think they could improve a little bit defensively against another pretty strong team in Austria. And then my second one from match week 2 is to be honest, the game that I was most excited about before the start of the tournament, Scotland and England, just because it's the big rivalry game. And I think it's going to be, I think on paper, England should win, but I think it has the potential to be a bit of a trap game just because you never really know with those rivalry games like that. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
I also think to go back on your Netherlands take about how their defense needs to be a little bit better. Well, it would be a little bit better if they had one Virgil van Dijk. That's a big loss that they're losing.
I was expecting the haymaker to be thrown. I think going back on your Netherlands and Austria game too, though, Andrew, I think we underestimated, kind of undershadowed, actually, I should say, how good David Alaba looked for Austria. I mean, the dude was sensational. So I think that if Netherlands,
that's why he's going to Real Madrid.
If Netherlands needs to improve offensively, good freaking luck with David Alaba as your defender, kind of making sure that you don't get across at all. And I think that my other match too is actually Croatia versus Czech Republic. That's another rivalry match. It's a very good match. Both teams very similar in their aspects of the game. So I think if anything, this could be a 2-1 thriller in my opinion. But let's switch gear. And let's jump across the pond and go down to South America. Copa America is on its way. Things have started. Obviously, Brazil looking as dominant as possible against a Venezuelan team that showed up with about 19, 18 of their players. And 7 of those guys were brand new and called up upon duty because Venezuela's team had a bunch of COVID-19 cases that came out of the blue. But just
18 guys.
Yeah, just overall, Venezuela actually showed up to this game in a very relentless manner and gave Brazil a run for their money. I think, honestly, Brazil kind of got lucky that this game was officiated so much more towards their side of things. Then the penalty against Neymar really wasn't much of a penalty, in my opinion. That's just me. I think Gabriel Barbosa also got lucky with that goal that he basically hit with the belly into the net. The Marquinhos goal was just unbelievable. He's just that good off the corner. That's one guy you always want to watch out for. But I really wasn't all that impressed with the Brazilian team, to be quite honest with you, especially against a Venezuela team that was just starting to gel together until everything hit them southly. And they still were, like I said, they still fought Brazil like never before. Their goalie was super sharp, very vocal, very strong in their defense. Um, and then now we have Argentina and Chile, who just ended in a tie today. Um, Argentina, again, still leaving a lot of unanswered questions. That Argentina would honestly, in my opinion, be absolutely nothing without Lionel Messi right now. Just absolutely nothing. There will be probably the worst team in South America right now, to be honest. Not even exaggerating. Ecuador has played much better than Argentina ever could right now. Peru has played fantastically. Uruguay has looked amazing as well. I'm just looking up and down the line. I'm like, where is Argentina? If Lionel Messi does get injured, which I hope he does not in this competition, it's over for Argentina. It's all over. There is no answers for them.
I think the big thing for Argentina is, unfortunately, Lautaro Martinez should not be in the starting lineup. His head is not there right now. You know where his head is focused on? His head is focused on getting transferred to play with Lionel Messi at Barcelona next year. That is where his head is at, unfortunately. So, for me, looking at this Argentina team, they love Nicolas Gonzalez for whatever reason. I would personally literally be going Aguero, Messi, and Angel Di Maria in my starting three. Well, then literally run everything else.
To be honest with you, the problem with this Argentinian team is not even so much the chemistry in the camp. It's the fact that this manager doesn't even belong in managing a national team. This Scaloni is just not made for this team at all. They need somebody that truly understands star power. When you have Sergio Aguero on your bench, I get it, he's older, but that is somebody that truly breathes the colors of that jersey and is a fighter every single time that he plays with that jersey. Angel Di Maria, as you mentioned, like, why the hell is he sitting down? He's not injured. He's healthy, completely good performer overall. Then you got Angel Correa from Atletico Madrid. Why the hell is he in the bench? He's got no reason to be in the bench. Nothing. That was one of the best Atletico players that came out of Serie A. I mean, La Liga in Spain. Then you got Marcos Acuna as well, who's been very good altogether. I'm just saying, like, talk about piss poor management. This is one team that just shows that overall. Like you mentioned, what is their deal with Nicolas Gonzalez? There's nothing that special about the kid.
Yeah, I'm going to preface this by saying that I am by no means an expert on CONMEBOL, but I feel like this is what we say every 4 years when the Copa America rolls around, right? It's Messi. It all falls on Messi's shoulders to try and piece things together and fix whatever is going wrong with Argentina at that particular tournament, whether it's manager problems or the secondary pieces just not contributing or not getting a chance to contribute. Every single year, it falls all on Leo Messi's shoulders to try and overcome all the challenges and win his country the Copa America. I feel bad for the guy, to be honest. Like, there's so much pressure specifically on him in Argentina because the successes and failures of the team are measured specifically by him. It's not really fair, I don't think, but he had a great free kick goal today, so maybe that's a sign that he's on good form for this tournament. Yeah,
that was just typical Barcelona Lionel Messi. You never leave. You never let Lionel Messi take that kind of free kick and expect it not to go in. That's just automatic at this point by Lionel Messi.
All right, Diego. You haven't talked about it yet. Go ahead.
Colombia?
Yeah.
Your hometown.
Yeah, so all right, so Ecuador definitely gave us a hell of a game. I mean, Ecuador in itself has been a very powerful team for any South American team to compete against. And congratulations for Ecuador. Like, they really are developing a strong core. When you look at down the lineup, Gonzalo Plata, Ener Valencia, Marcos Strada, Caicedo, Stupinian. Like they are a very good core. I think if anything, that play by the Colombian team was just the only way that we were going to win that game. We're not going to win it in the aerial game. We're not going to win it in the strategical game because Ecuador was reading the game perfectly at all times. This game should have really ended 0-0. But that preparational kind of play that they did between Juan Cuadrado and Edwin Cardona, that was just pure class caliber that these guys have. But I'm looking at this Colombian team, and I'm actually feeling very proud of them. They're playing without James Rodriguez, who was out due to injury, and now as you read more and more reports into it, it's more of an ego issue that the Colombian national team actually has with James Rodriguez. It seems like the chemistry in the locker room changes from 180 to 720 when the guy's around because his ego is just way too large for everyone else to take on. But David Ospina was sensational in net for Colombia. The guy was a strong anchor. Jerry Mina looked real good. Their defense actually looked very good. They were all in good chemistry. I think if anything, what this team really is missing right now is a combination between Borja and Luis Muriel to start. Because once they have those two starting, Borja in the game against Peru showed that he deserves the starting notch. When he came in, he was just that good for Colombia. And Muriel is just a sensationally creative piece altogether for Colombia. And that there's nothing more lethal than when you have a strong finisher and a creative piece in your attacking too. I think that would really solve half of the problems for Colombia. But overall, I like Zapata. He looked very good. I wasn't a big fan of Sebastian Perez. I don't think he really deserves much in this team anymore. I want to see Luis Diaz be a little bit more involved, especially because of how good he was for Porto and how good he can be for this national team. Kind of worried about Davinson Sanchez's performance drop off. I think this rocky relationship that he had with Mourinho kind of really hurt his confidence overall. And that's why we're seeing the type of player that he is right now. But I think once that confidence is elevated again, he could be another star center back like he was once before. I think that the biggest challenge for Colombia is going to be the next game against Peru, which is on Sunday, June 20th. I think that if they beat Venezuela and they tie against Peru, they're clear uprunners of that group. But if they don't manage to at least win either one of these games, they are in serious trouble because Ecuador could really change the course of this group altogether. I think that the other team to watch out for is actually Uruguay. Uruguay has been real good. I mean, Luis Suarez, Edison Cavani. Put those two together, you're gonna fear those two together.
Listen, we'll see it. We'll see it on Friday. We'll see it on Friday for the first time in Copa America.
Yeah, that's right, because they played against Argentina, right?
They will play Argentina. Yep.
Oof! What a game! What a game!
I have a follow-up question for you, Diego, about Colombia. So I didn't watch this game against Ecuador, but I'm seeing that they only had 2 shots on target in the game. If you want to talk about creativity and chance creation, that's what James Rodriguez is known for. Is that something that you're worried about as a potential problem throughout the tournament in terms of like creating chances, or is that more down to that's just how Ecuador plays and they stifle teams defensively?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of how this manager stacks up this lineup, because when you have Luis Diaz, who's a creative force in the midfield, and you got Edwin Cardona, who can also be creative, but they both happen to play the same position, you kind of have to be creative in your management style and put in two together so that you can create chances up front. The secondary piece to that is Ecuador's defensive game overall was just that strong. It's a strong young core in the back. very physical, very fast, very defensive. And when you have all those three components, it's almost Crystal. It's almost actually like Liverpool's strong offensive forwards against a very strong defensive backs of Manchester City. It comes down to how the manager gives supporting pieces for Liverpool to actually create chances at that point. And I think this is exactly what's coming down for Colombia. He gave up one creative piece to two guys that can be strong finishers. But like I mentioned earlier, if you have a creative piece and a strong finisher, and you have two other creative pieces in your midfield, you solved half your issues. Now you will actually start having more chances up front.
So that should do it for Copa America talk. Real quick, last thing I wanted to touch upon before we end episode 39 is some of the signings that we have yet to be able to talk about on the podcast really quickly.
Let's do it.
So Gianluigi Donnarumma, been great for Italy, officially with PSG until 2026, Oof. Not leaving on loan like originally reported. PSG does it again. They get Wijnaldum, they get Donnarumma. Now they're going to focus on getting a right back. What should we see this more? Excuse me. Let me rephrase this question. What more does PSG need to be a legitimate contender? Because I think that they could hands down be easily the favorite to win the Champions League next year.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I think they're trying to focus on strengthening the team because obviously the expectation is they'll lose Kylian Mbappe and they'll probably lose oh my God. They'll probably have to lose either Paredes or maybe Angel Di Maria. More likely than not, it's probably Paredes because when you look at the two, you're going to want to keep Di Maria at all times. So I think I actually like the Gini Wijnaldum signing because then it allows for Di Maria to have that creativity piece for the PSG offensive line altogether. I like the Donnarumma signing as well. It means that either Keylor Navas is probably shipping elsewhere or he's going to be a secondary goalie, more than likely loaned somewhere else. So I think altogether PSG, if anything, we're strengthening the team, but they're doing it in a way that it's going to be sustainable for another 5 years, which is something that this owner has shown to do in a very well manner. When you look at the Neymar contract, you look at the Mbappe contract, you look at Di Maria, you look at Ander Herrera, you look at you look up and down the whole entire lineup. It's contracts that are long term for guys that were extremely young when they signed with this group. So I'd be actually very excited for PSG for next year. Hopefully they can finally win this Champions League because it's something that they need to do.
Now, do you think, Andrew, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think they're doing this moves in order to potentially try and infatuate Kylian Mbappe to stay?
I'd imagine that's part of it. Yeah. I think for them to right now on paper, I would consider them to be one of the big favorites for the Champions League. For that to stay the case, they need Mbappe there, I would say. And I think if you're a young, talented player like Mbappe, one of the best in the world at your position, an encouraging thing is to look at the team sheet and see other young, talented players who are amongst the best in the world at their positions. It's sort of a core that they can build with together. I think PSG getting Donnarumma is a dangerous signing because that's basically your stud goalkeeper for the next decade. They don't have to worry about that position going forward at all. If he continues to develop the way it looks like he's going to develop, which I think allows them to focus on other areas of the team and continue strengthening things like Diego said. I guess Wijnaldum sort of covers this a little bit, but the one area that I wonder if they could use a bit more help is maybe in central midfield, just getting more complete players who can defend and get the ball up to their big names and free them up and allow them to just attack. But on paper right now, I think they're probably in the top 3 or 4 teams who I would consider to be favorites for the Champions League.
Yeah. Yep.
Then the other 2 things I wanted to touch upon were Gianluigi Buffon discussing with Parma on a 2-year contract. Is basically his dream is to be the 3rd goalkeeper with Italy for the World Cup next year. So he wants to keep playing. And I think personally that would be a good idea for Italy, because to get a young talented goalie like Donnarumma to learn from one of the great goaltenders like Buffon, even just for a short amount of time, could impact on how great he could progress into the future. So there's also that. And then the last thing I wanted thoughts on from everybody is Tottenham finally finding their new manager and Paulo Fonseca. What are thoughts? What are thoughts here?
Yeah, Paulo Fonseca is an interesting pickup here for Tottenham, but I think I'd be interested to see what the first 2 signings of this offseason will be for Tottenham. That will be the telling story for this team in itself. Are they in rebuild mode, or are they just going to cruise through this whole entire season in hopes for the best, but then rebuild in the season after, knowing that this is going to be just like a clean slate type of season and just hope for the best, let Paulo do the best he can. I do like, too, that he now has an actually supportive manager on him, somebody that actually understands the game, because Daniel Levy is just not that person full-time to be that person. It's annoying that Conte couldn't sign with Tottenham because they just wouldn't match what he wanted to get paid. I think when you're looking at Antonio Conte and his accomplishments, what the guy was asking for is a fair bargain all in itself. But I think I'd be interested to see, like I said, his first 2 signings right off the bat, and I'd be interested to see what he can do to keep Harry Kane, if he gets to keep Harry Kane.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think it sort of comes down to who's coming in and who's going out right now, because Fonseca and then also the Italian director of football, whose name is escaping me right now, I think they have a big job on their hands, and they need to decide which direction they want to go this summer, whether that's trying to load up and grab pieces to complement Kane, or maybe allow Kane to leave and then use that money to kind of turn a new page and start building a more long-term project. So I agree with you, Diego, on that.
I think I'm just curious to see what's next for his team. I'm not buying in on Harry Kane staying, mainly because at his interview after the England game, they kind of asked him what his thought process was. And he goes, "You guys will know everything after they're out running the Euros." So to me, it already seems like he already knows what he wants to do. And if that's the case, he is as good as gone in Tottenham.
Yeah. I mean, all depends. Like I said, all depends on what happens here. It really does. But with that said, guys, that's it for episode 39. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to this episode. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast Card. That's where you can find the Yellow Card Podcast. At Diego_the DJ. For my personal Twitter account, at CJonesWho1212 on Twitter for Chris Jones. At ASFASC573 on Twitter. Wow, that is a mouthful on itself.
How haven't you written that down just to have on record?
I don't. Hey,
he
Shows
nailed
doesn't
it.
like you,
okay.
Andrew.
He doesn't
Shows
need
doesn't
it.
like you, Andrew. It's fun.
But anyways, guys, it's been fun. It's been real. Episode 39 concludes here, presented by Couch Guy Sports. Until next week, see you all.
Shout out Exogun.
Shout out Exogun.